Okay.
Okay, great. So yes, today James and I are here to talk to you about our platform, Give Peace a Chance. But first, we'll tell you a little bit about ourselves. So James, over to you.
Thanks, Elise. My name is James Sankar. It's a pleasure to be here today. Just a little bit about me, a bit of a fun fact. I was responsible for the creation of the Eduroam service as one of 5 of us that started this in 2001. This allows for secure Wi-Fi across the globe now, which started out as a very small project in Europe. And it took several years and a lot of determination, but it shows what you can do. If you even if you start with an idea, it can resonate across the world. And why am I sharing this? Because it shows that I have experience not only in starting a service that can be impacting, but I also have experience in the areas of IT networking, data management, cybersecurity, cloud services, and so on, that are all going to be really important for what we talk about today. So I'm very happy to be here, and look forward to sharing our idea with you.
Great. And I'm Elise. So I've been working for the past 6 years in sustainable development and social impact at the International Olympic Committee based in Switzerland. And there I've been doing a lot of work on gender equality, diversity and inclusion, but also partnerships with international organizations like UN Women. And partnerships is also going to be a big part of our platform. So as you know, we were tasked with coming up to a solution to one of the aspects of SDG 16. And so we started looking into it, and there were a few things that stood out for us. And we started going on a bit of a deep dive specifically around the cost of war and the impact of war on the world. So what we discovered is that there has been over 9.5 trillion US dollars spent on war since 2001, and that's according to Brown University's Watson Institute for International and Public Affairs. And that's actually only how much has been spent in the US. Globally, the estimates are between 20 to 30 trillion US dollars, and that's covering things like military expenditures, economic losses, infrastructure damage, humanitarian costs, and long-term care for veterans and displaced populations. And this is all money and resources that are ultimately being diverted from sustainable development and peace building efforts. We also noticed that policymakers lack reliable tools to assess the full economic, social and environmental impacts of war. This analysis is currently fragmented across a few different institutes, and it's often very country specific. There's no real global tool available. We also know that there's rising demand for conflict recovery solutions because of conflicts in regions such as the Middle East, Africa, and Eastern Europe. And this got us thinking that there really is an opportunity to leverage the academic research that's out there, and as well as new and emerging digital technologies, to build this missing link between the academic research and the policy decisions that are being taken by governments around the world. So with this in mind, we started building a solution that would analyze the various economic, social, and environmental impacts from war using existing open source public information, using this information to model the true costs of war, and then ultimately generating insights that could help mitigate against war and redirect funds to addressing sustainable development. And what we came up with is the Give Peace a Chance platform, which would be a hub for research-based data-driven insights, educational materials, gamification, and workshops and seminars for decision makers. And we did a bit of a mock-up of what that could look like. And we were very much inspired by the En-ROADS Climate Interactive platform, which is a really great tool for seeing how different policy decisions impact global warming. And that's kind of the vision that we have for our platform. And this solution was built on the theory of change, that by providing comprehensive data and analysis, we can influence policies and decisions to account for the full costs of war, advancing peace and sustainable development. And that's based on 4 key expected outcomes from our tool. The first being that we would be creating new models of understanding for the impact of war, and that this would lead to an increased recognition of environmental and biodiversity costs, and also the long-term indirect social impacts of conflicts. And that this would help create more informed public discourse on military engagements and hopefully lead to a shift in government budgeting and priorities towards areas that foster economic stability and growth. And these outcomes would combine to lead to a reduction in conflict and also contribute to the realization of the SDGs through the reallocation of funds, but also, probably more importantly, through a reduction in displaced populations, because we know that displaced populations have a huge impact on our ability to achieve sustainable development, specifically goals like SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 2, zero hunger, SDG 4, quality education, SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. These are all SDGs that are really impacted by displaced populations. So I'm now going to hand over to James, who will walk you through the key components of the tool and how it would work.
So we talked about this being a data-driven platform. We have 4 key components that make this a reality. The first is that we need to make sure that we can create an environment by which we can leverage the community. We'd seek to do that through an appropriate licensing model, such as the Creative Commons license, plus an additional layer of governance around how this data is managed and to make sure that any use of AI does not introduce any unintended bias. The best way and the most scalable way to deploy that data sharing arrangement is through something that we call APIs. So there'd be an expectation on the developing community to be able to utilize programs such as Python, for example, so that they could create the necessary APIs to information that they'd like to get a hold of for a whole variety of different cases that Elise already alluded to. What's also really important is that the data and the database itself needs to be both clean in terms of the data and of high integrity. So in order to achieve that, we need the right combination of a structured and unstructured platform, database type solution and storage. Typically, these would be something similar to what's provided today by the Amazon Web Services or through Azure or Google, and I believe each of those has a philanthropical element that we could potentially utilize there. And these particular cloud platforms tend to have the security and privacy built in. So that would be certainly very, very, very important. This is the main crux of the value that this platform produces. Now we will be asking for money to seed fund this initiative, but we don't wish to rely on that completely. And our business plan outlines a diversification of different forms of I guess funding. We'd be looking for broader sort of donations across other interested groups, looking to crowdsource, offering ranges of service experiences to allow people to try and then buy. And also looking at educational opportunities, be it in the coding space or the policy space or even the analytics space around the use of this technology. And then in terms of who we would be sort of pitching this towards, it would be ideally a small number of low-cost subscription to academics, NGOs that may be in the field of the prevention of or reduction of war, media and actuaries, who actually could utilize this data in meaningful ways, whether it be for actuaries, could be for risk management, for example, consultancies, and they come to look at foreign investment or indirect investment. They could utilize this to understand which countries are going to be at risk today or are likely to be at risk tomorrow. And of course, political parties who would be vying for or against the war. And that's the sort of things that they would need to be, could see value in utilizing this data in its various forms. Next slide, please. In terms of the governance aspect, we've already identified a number of academics that are that have been involved in looking at the economics of war over many years. We'd be looking to utilise this elite group of experts to support the work that we're doing to make sure that our model is robust and sound and delivered in an ethical way, and that helps us to utilise that the considerable amount of database and policy-based and modelling-based research that's been produced to date. What we're trying to do here is to take that massive information and be able to digitize that into a platform that can be utilized far and wide. And on top of that, to be able to use deep learning and learning models to be able to provide a generative AI capability in addition to an analysis board that you could use to see what happens if you apply money here and there. So there's a whole range of capabilities that new technology today could utilize with this data. How will we do it? It's going to be an 18-month program. As I said before, we're going to have to initially start by getting a number of the developers on board, and to be able to get them to help to develop the model and to develop the interface with us. That would be something that we would seek early adopters to assist with. So we'd set up the advisory board, start to look at the education side as well as looking in phase 2 at how we then utilize that data with AI and other modeling to see if we can then produce great insights that would be of value to our customer base. Again, the amount of money we're looking from each customer is deliberately low. We see value in creating a critical mass and also early and a lower entry to allow customers to utilize this platform. And then into stage 3, start to break out from just analysis of data to actually looking at things like how we could actually codify this data so that students could actually learn, but also looking at workshops, gamification. There's a whole range and raft of opportunities that open up, and the value really lies within the data itself and our ability to actually harness that and make that grow with the community. Furthermore, it says here that we'd be halfway to break even. Our estimate is that we'd be looking to be moving towards break even within 3 years. Okay, next slide. So here's the ask. We're looking for a founding partner. We're looking for 625,000 in seed funding, which we believe that we will be able to break even upon in 3 years. We have an 18-month project here that we've shared with you, and we're looking forward to hoping to make a difference here and to give peace a chance. So that's our pitch and that's our ask, and we look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.